All right, everybody, welcome back to another deep dive.
Yeah.
So today, we've got a fun one. This one's a bit more personal, how we like to take these deep dives into different topics.
Yeah.
And this time, it's kind of a deep dive into me a little bit.
Yeah.
We got a question from a listener.
Oh, cool.
And basically, they were wondering about social media and my logins.
Interesting.
And so the question goes something like this.
Yeah.
You've been on Facebook since like 2008.
Okay.
And you've been on Instagram since 2012.
Right.
How on earth do you still remember your logins
Wow. Yeah.
without having them written down somewhere?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and I thought it was a really great question because it kind of gets at a few different things. It gets at this idea of memory
Yeah.
and how we remember things.
Absolutely.
And also how we interact with technology and specifically social media and, how social media has kind of evolved over time.
Right.
And how our relationship with social media has also evolved. So I thought this would be a really cool topic to kind of dive into.
I think so, too. I mean, it's something that probably most people listening can relate to in some way or another.
Right, exactly.
Everyone's got their own social media history,
So what's interesting about this question is that it assumes that using social media for that long automatically means you're going to forget your logins.
Right. It assumes a certain kind of memory failure almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this idea that our brains are just overflowing with information from these platforms.
Right. And that we can't possibly keep track of it all.
And so we must be resorting to, writing things down or using password managers or something like that.
Exactly. And it also makes you wonder about the role of technology itself in all of this,
Yeah.
Are we becoming so reliant on our devices to remember things for us that our own memories are starting to suffer?
It's a good question.
Yeah. Is it a case of use it or lose it when it comes to our memory muscles?
I mean, there is some truth to that, right?
There's definitely a lot of research out there about cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloading.
Yeah, it's basically the idea that we're outsourcing our memory to our devices. So instead of remembering things ourselves, we rely on our phones to store our appointments, our contacts, our to-do lists.
Yeah.
You name it. And in some ways, that's incredibly convenient and helpful.
Of course, it's like having an external brain.
Exactly. But some researchers are concerned that this constant offloading could have negative consequences for our long-term memory.
Oh, how so?
Well, if you never have to actively recall information because it's always right there at your fingertips,
You're right.
does that mean your brain becomes less efficient at forming and retrieving memories?
I never thought about it like that.
And this ties back to the listener's question about your social media logins. It's not just about remembering a random string of characters.
Yeah.
It's about the experiences those logins give you access to, the memories that are tied to those accounts.
Right.
And those early days on Facebook and Instagram were probably pretty memorable.
Definitely.
I mean, think about it. There was a sense of novelty and excitement around those platforms back then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everything was so new.
Right. You were probably making new connections, sharing experiences, figuring out how to use all the features.
I remember spending hours just browsing through people's profiles and photos.
Exactly. And those early interactions, fueled by that sense of novelty and emotional engagement, likely created strong neural connections in your brain.
Interesting.
And those connections make it easier to recall those memories even years later.
That makes sense. So it's like the emotional aspect of it plays a role.
Absolutely. And don't forget the repeated action of logging in, typing your password over and over again.
Yeah.
It becomes almost like muscle memory, a deeply ingrained habit.
That's true. I don't even think about it anymore. I just kind of do it.
Exactly. And those early days of social media were so different from what we experience now.
Yeah. I mean, Facebook was all about poking people and writing on each other's walls.
Right. And Instagram was just a simple photo sharing app with those square photos and those retro filters.
Yeah. It's crazy how much things have changed.
It really is. Social media has evolved from this niche thing to this massive global phenomenon.
And it's become so integrated into our lives,
Absolutely. It's how we connect with friends and family, stay informed about current events, and even build our businesses.
Right. And each platform updates each shift in how we use them, adds a new layer to our digital footprint.
Exactly. It's like we're all creating this massive, constantly evolving archive of our lives.
And that's what I think is so fascinating about this listener's question. It's not just about remembering a password. It's about someone acknowledging your long history with these platforms and wondering what that says about you.
Right. It's almost like they're looking at your social media presence as a kind of time capsule.
Yeah. And it makes me think, if future generations were to analyze your social media activity, what story would it tell?
That's a really interesting question.
What would those posts, those likes, those comments reveal about who you were and what you cared about?
It's a bit like digital archaeology, isn't it? Trying to piece together someone's life story from the fragments they've left behind online.
And I think it raises some really important questions about the nature of memory, the role of technology in shaping our identities.
Absolutely. And the legacy we leave behind in the digital realm.
So for everyone listening out there, as you scroll through your feeds, as you interact with these platforms, I want you to consider this.
Yeah.
What story is your social media telling? What memories are you etching into the digital landscape? And how will those memories shape your understanding of yourself, both now and in the future?
It's something to think about, that's for sure.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See you. Bye.
Bye.